Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. Like she said, my name is Diana Proemm. I am a nationally certified recreation therapist. And I also own Your Adventure RX, which we provide leisure activities to boost holistic health to women and or individuals or groups as an alternative solution for medical services such as mental health care or any kind of physical health care you do, and also that helps reduce healthcare costs. And if you're wondering what recreation therapy is, I will tell you, because a lot of people are like, what is recreation therapy? So I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you what that is. We're gonna go a little techie, and then we'll go into the fun stuff. But recreation therapy is provided by qualified health providers leading community and leisure recreation opportunities to people with disabilities and people transitioning out of mental health care. We provide these services in realistic settings to promote positive holistic health. So where you can find us are VA hospitals, psych rehabilitation centers, long-term care facilities, substance abuse centers, and community-based programs. Kind of like Eagle Mount is one, but they're more adaptive, recreation-based. So when we get out there with people, we use an API process, which the ultimate goal is for independence and freedom of the person. So that goes through assessment, planning, implementation, evaluation, and discharge. And the goal is beyond independence and freedom is to provide a social, cognitive, physical, and social leisure health. So recreation programming, so like something that I would do is part life coaching and part activity consultant. So what I would do is help you find activities that promote these positive health outcomes. And they would also help you gain confidence, build resilience, build your coping skills, and help set boundaries. We can help you lose weight and just give you a better promotion of mental health. So what that all means is that if I had a life-altering injury, such as a spinal cord injury, and you go into the hospital, an occupational therapist is going to help teach you how to get out of bed, how to eat again, how to go to the bathroom again. A physical therapist is going to teach you how to have the strength or give you the strength to get out of bed. And then a recreation therapist would come in, and I call ourselves Team Fun, and we teach you how to bike, ski, and have positive outlets out there out on the hillside. And then if you're coming out of substance abuse, it would be teaching you how to learn how to have fun again without the use of alcohol or drugs, whatever your choice is. And then if you have a cognitive disability, say autism, we would take you in the community, we'd go out to eat with you, we'd maybe go to a movie, maybe do something else, but then we would work on behavior modifications, because a lot of these guys, especially people with autism or cognitive disabilities, don't have a general awareness of what appropriate social skills are, so we would work on that in the community. So now that you know a little bit about recreation therapy, we'll go into the presentation, which is Nature is Creative Medicine. And this presentation will talk about why and how nature is creative medicine. So, nature has the unique power to incite awe, wonder, and serenity and inspiration. People are spending more time indoors than they are in the outdoors. Numerous studies are revealing just how important nature is for our physical and mental well-being. Studies are also showing that spending time in nature can help make someone feel more empathetic, generous, trusting, and it also helps increase your personal relationships. So when was the last time you all were inspired by nature? Does anyone want to do a shout out?
Well, there were some good sunrises this week.
Yeah, this time of year is fantastic, and in Montana for sunrises, isn't it?
Frosty leaves that make you smile. One morning it was just frost everywhere. Saw a meteor, sparkles everywhere.
What'd you say?
I saw, I don't know if it's a meteor or a meteorite, I just ate my family 2 nights ago. And I went yelling into the house and everybody was already in bed, so they weren't happy, but it was so amazing. It's a move. Yeah.
So nature can also alleviate your blocks. So I know a lot of times if we're writers or creatives, we tend to have some blocks. It can also help us relieve those by spending time in nature. It's no surprise to us, as Amy talked about, the reason we live here is probably because nature, we understand what nature does for us, because it gives us some downtime in our precious busy schedule. So it can also give you a memory boost. When you give your brain some time to rest, and you don't keep going and pounding the pavement until you go into collapse, it helps you to slow down and helps bring out some creative ideas. Raise a hands of how many people have found creative solutions in the shower. Why do you think that is? You're not thinking about anything else, right? And it just, like that whole downtime is what we're looking for. So, in just 20 minutes a day is all it takes to increase your brain function. So, it allows us to be more present in our bodies. It allows us to also be more intuitive, which I think is something that we've lost in our society today with all the screen time that we have, or that we do. We get sucked into social media and beyond. So how many of you feel better when you get to go outside and play? How many have dogs that get to go outside in the morning? How does that make you feel when you get to start your day walking your dog or spending some time in nature? Yeah, it's pretty awesome, isn't it? So this next one is going to open a little bit of can of worms. So besides all the other thoughts that we have, it'll improve your mental health. So according to the National Institute of Mental Health, 20.9 million American 20.9 million American adults suffer from a mood disorder. Does anyone want to guess as to what that mood disorder is, the number one? Stress. Stress is the number one factor leading to anxiety, depression, frustration, anger, heart disease, and down the rabbit hole, right? 80% of antidepressants prescribed today through a primary physician who spends 20 minutes with you. So 80% of antidepressants are currently prescribed by primary doctors who spend 20 minutes with you. They don't take the time to talk to you about those medications, and they don't talk to you about the side effects of those medications. And over the years, I've learned about some of the side effects of those medications, which can lead to other really bad health issues. And I have a couple samples. One is there was a kid here who I'd heard about, and I don't know if, anyway, he was on a list of medications, and he had anger and frustration issues, so much so that they had to put him in a padded room during the day in school. And they finally got him out of that situation. They moved him to a different state, and they got some different services for him. They took him off all the medications that he was on, and now he's basically a normal functioning human being. There's a veteran that I worked with years ago who came to us with, he was injured in the war, and he was prescribed pain medications, and so he was on pain medications. He was self-medicating with drugs and alcohol, and basically just not in a very good headspace. And he had a lot of aggression and anger issues. And through the year that we had him with us, we taught him how to kayak, we taught him how to outdoor recreate, taught him how to get outside and slow down. And so within that process, within like a year and a half, I saw him go from this like self-medicating person to a person who didn't need to take drugs and alcohol anymore and or wasn't prescribed any medication, to get his college degree, and now has his pilot's license. So in Jackson Hole, so I went to this conference a couple weeks ago in Jackson Hole, and it was called Nature is Medicine. It's called the SHIFT Conference. And I was talking with a gal who was a gynecologist in Jackson Hole, and she said that pretty much 50% of the women she sees is prescribed an antidepressant and or anti-anxiety medication, which I thought was fascinating. And I imagine, like, I attribute Jackson Hole is very similar to Bozeman in that sense, so I can imagine that this town also has that. So I don't know why that is, because we have such access to all this nature around us, but yet we're still taking all these medications to alleviate these depression and anxiety issues. And so my thought process is that maybe these people are trying to keep up with the Joneses in a different way that somebody in the city would, or the suburbs would keep up with the Joneses, is, you know, maybe a house, toys, whatever it is. But, you know, like, I have friends that go out and do 20-mile runs, and I'm like, oh, I did 2 miles today. So I wonder if that's also the problem, that we can't, you know, at some point in time, you can't keep up. And that, I don't know if that's what the attributing factor is, but anyway, the other, so I kind of went down this rabbit hole when I was doing research for this, but I found another investigation done by Fox TV under this drug called Proemm or something like that, and it's used for blood pressure. It's not approved by the FDA, and the VA was prescribing, or the VA and or doctors were prescribing this to veterans who had PTSD with nightmares associated with it. And it actually, instead of causing it to get better, it actually made it worse. So these guys were going down this like crazy train of becoming worse versus better. And it wasn't even approved by the FDA. It wasn't approved. I mean, it wasn't even designed for PTSD. And so it was designed for blood pressure, which, so if you get prescribed medication, is all I'm saying, pay attention to what you're taking and why you're taking it. So anyway, the other thing that I found too last night from a consumer report was 1.3 million people have been prescribed inappropriate drugs, and or 124,000 people have died from inappropriate drug prescriptions. So just be careful when you're out there. Maybe you should go outside in nature. So let's review. We have nature alleviates blocks, it boosts your memory for new ideas, it increases your brain function, and we have an improvement of mental health. Well, guess what? It also improves your physical health as well. And so if you're feeling good mentally, you're also physically going to start feeling good, because you're going to become more active, you're going to feel more alive, your blood pressure is going to decrease, your heart disease is going to decrease, and your anxiety and depression and stress levels are going to go down as well. This is another interesting thing, and I don't have a lot of the details on this, but I saw a talk by a local lady. And does anybody know how pharmacology was started? So back in the day, way back in the day, they used to use nature as tools. So Eastern medicine, if you look at Eastern medicine, they use nutrition, they use acupuncture, things like that. Well, and then in plants. And so within that, the nutrition, they had the plants, and then the plants became herbs, and then the herbs became pharmacology, and then pharmacology became synthetic. So when you look at, but in order to heal, you want to kind of bring it back into nature again, because if you're going down this synthetic route, they may not be the answer. I don't know if this is like making any sense, but I thought that was really fascinating. So it's taken you guys this long to screw up your body. Give yourself some time to get it back into holistic health. So from a study on USA Today, Americans are spending less time outdoors. And in fact, it's 90% of people's times is spent indoors versus outdoors, which we figured out last night was about approximately 1.6 hours a day people spend outside. And some people don't even go outside, and some of the averages are showing 15 minutes a day that people are going outside. So let's talk about barriers. What do you guys think the barriers are to getting outside these days?
Sheer laziness.
Right. What else?
Busy schedules.
Busy schedules,
Weather.
weather.
Technology.
But is technology preventing you from going outside?
The addictive desire.
I mean, it's become an addiction, right? So some of the things that can be a barrier are time, yourself, priorities and values. So where your values lie, are you prioritizing time to get outside? Some people may not have access. We are lucky in the fact that we have, all this green space all around us. Some people don't. When I lived in Texas, I found this super fascinating that I would go work with these women and I'd tell them to meet at this park. And they'd be like, I've lived here for 20 years and I didn't even know there was a park here. And they'd be like 10 minutes down the road from these green spaces. So I was like, okay, well, introduce you. It's gonna be some green space. Equipment, clothing, financials is some of the other barriers that happen when you to getting outside. And then there's also the upbringing factor. I went camping with a gal who had lost over 150 pounds. She was one of my friends from way back when I lived in Alaska. And we talked about it, like her family spent a lot of time outdoors, but they camped out and they were very sedentary in the way they camped out. They ate, heavy bacon and fatty foods and not really healthy foods, but they were outside. And then my family was, my parents are from Germany. They're very outdoorsy, but they didn't like to camp. But when we were outdoors, we were always active. So we were always going to parks, hiking and doing things. So I grew up in a very different environment that promoted more activity and good nutrition and things like that. So it's kind of interesting how your upbringing can also affect, how you end up being outside. Does anyone want to take a gander at what the obesity rate is in Montana? It's 26.9%, and it's just behind the national average, which is 30% of people in America are obese or considered obese, which I thought was super interesting. And the Montana stat is up from 15.6% from the year 2000. So we're actually not getting better, we're getting worse. Does anyone want to take a guess what the suicide rate is in Montana? It's the highest in the country, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then I did a stat last night, and it's 30% of those suicides are veterans.
But aren't we also the highest in veterans?
We are the highest per capita, yes. Mm-hmm. So we have a pretty significant rate of veteran and suicide rate, which is kind of sad.
So how clearly there are other factors like the socioeconomic status in Montana, the fact that we're like northern, so it's really dry and that's also nature.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'm curious how those like tie into nature or don't.
Yeah, I didn't go down that way, so I don't know. I couldn't answer that one for you. So anyway, on a more positive note, so now we know how it all benefits us. How can we make these nature experiences more meaningful to promote the physical and mental health benefits in our lives? We can form a connection with the world around us and with a part of ourselves that is more open and in tune with how we think and feel. So we'll go into forest therapy, but nature's free, so use it. According to the Pennsylvania College of Medicine, they did a trial study comparing exercise indoors versus outdoors. Exercising outdoors or in natural environments boosts your feeling of revitalization. It boosts your energy with positive reinforcement, and it decreases your tension and stress, confusion, anger, and depression, and it increases your joy and satisfaction. And then most people are likely to repeat it again. And so some of the activities that you can do when you're outside to help boost your creativity is and calm your brain down. I would say focused attention and reflection are very similar, which would be kind of going back into that forest therapy, which is if you go into forest therapy is maybe taking a walk in the forest 20 to 30 yards. It's not going in there and doing a full-on hike or anything. It's taking a pause, listening to the sounds around you, smelling anything that might be kind of aromatic, feeling the warmth of the sun or the wind in your face. And if you can also do the taste factor, but I would be careful and make sure you know what you're tasting before you stick it in your mouth. With mindful movement, you can do walking meditations, focusing on your breath, as well as yoga. And grounding poses are mountain poses, warrior, and tree poses are all good. And if you continue with the mindful breath, it's also supposed to help with reducing and fighting cancer cells. And then lastly, nature art. Find the art in nature. Be curious. Look at the leaves. I don't know if you guys have ever done this. You just sit down somewhere in nature and look at like the leaves, the trees, and how intricate they are and how detailed they are. Invite your little inner child to play and start making some stuff out there. You can make mandalas, you can do labyrinths, you can do sand structures, rock structures, things like that. But get out there and play. What has worked for you guys in the past?
Fairy houses.
Fairy houses.
The girls and I make fairy houses everywhere we go.
That's super cool. How do you do that?
You just take as long as you want, but like we'll go for a while. It's like 5-minute fairy house, and then you like usually it's by water. You take the rock, and that's your patio, and you find some leaves, and this will be the bedrooms, and like everyone's
fun.
different.
Cool. What else? Any other activities you guys have done?
I think being with kids, like especially little kids who are, amazed by every single thing has been eye-opening for me because I'm like, wow, that is an amazing rock that I would have just, walked right by.
I know, right? Yeah. I will sit and do kind of some meditations. I'll just sit there and look around and just, or sometimes when we go to the bathroom. Yesterday I went out with a hike with my girlfriends. We're like, look at that view. I think I have some of my better photos from where I've gone to the bathroom in nature. Yeah, sitting outside quietly is nice, or with your eyes closed. Yeah. In the wintertime, does anybody look at the snowflakes that fall? Like on those days when we have those really cool snowflakes? And look at the detail of them is out of this world. I don't know. And the hoarfrost, yeah, hoarfrost is really cool. So we're gonna do a little activity with color psychology. And what I want you to do, so there's papers over there, and I want you to pick 3 or 4 colors that resonate with you and why they would resonate. So maybe pick 1 or 2 words that draw up an emotion with that specific color. No, I talked to Amy. I was like, if you have some, bring it.
Sorry.
All right. So when we think about psychology of color, I don't know what season you're drawn to, but each season presents different colors, which I think is really cool. Does anyone, like when you think of grounding yourself, what color comes to mind when you think grounding and fresh?
Orange, brown,
Or strength? Yeah, so green and brown. So if you're thinking grounding and strength, green and brown. So what colors in nature are green and brown? Yes. So if you need grounding, where should you go? Okay, so this is just a fun little activity to promote some thought process. So when we think about psychology and the colors, what you guys put for red is strong energy and is a power color. Red is for high energy, can represent fire, excitement, strength, love, and the energy process. Orange, we have strong, energetic, dynamic, sunshine, fun, happy, power, energy, strength from the inside, tranquil, social, and grand prismatic. It's kind of interesting for the orange. I like that. But yeah, it's supposed to promote, orange is supposed to promote confidence, success, bravery, sociability, passion, and warmth. So for yellow, you guys put sunny, happy, summer, happiness, cheery, warmth, joy, smile. This is like the most fun one, I think, of all of them. Funny. It also promotes creativity, happiness, warmth, cheer, and communication. So if you want to try to be more creative in your space, then put the color yellow around your space. So for green, we have happy, new, fresh, calming, spring, to be present, and calm and new and fresh. Green also represents wealth and money, stability, prosperity, nature, healing, freshness, and fertility. So if you want to feel those things, you should surround yourself with that color. Blue in nature, sky, seas, and lakes. And what you guys put for emotions is smart, vibrant, peaceful, beautiful, blue sky, calming, big, refreshing, renewal, deep and spiritual, and play. It also can evoke trust, peace, loyalty, competence, relaxing, and it also kind of associated with meditation. So pink is towards the feminine energy, which only 2 people put answers, which is playful and frosting. I like that word. It's also associated with compassion, sincerity, sophistication, sweet, romance, and kindness. So if you want that in your life, you want some romance, put some pink around there. Purple is again associated with feminine energy. 2 people put winter and the Zen, which purple is also associated with royalty, luxury, spirituality, ambition, and mystery. And so black is also a masculine energy, and somebody put quiet on here, which I thought was cool, and it's also associated with formality, dramatic sophistication, security, bold, and elegance. And it's also associated with evil on the negative end. So for brown, we have dependable, rugged, trustworthy, simple, strength, reliable, and you guys put soothing, calming, and natural. And then white, snow, solitude in snow, and clean. So that is one of the associations with the color white, is simple, innocent, honest, and perfection. And what product uses the color white in their advertising that everybody carries in their hands? Yep, white. Funny enough. So if you want grounding in your life, what colors should you put in your house? More earthy tones. They tend to be more brown, orange, green colors. Cool. All right, y'all. I'm almost done. So we're going to have a fun little video here.
Do you find yourself longing for the apocalypse? I did. I was looking for a reason to live. Hi. Are you feeling tired, irritable, stressed out? Well, you might consider nature.
From the people that value getting outside comes prescription strength nature, non-harmful medication to relieve the crippling symptoms of modern life.
Nature's recommended for humans of all ages, and it's great for pets too.
Nature can reduce cynicism, meaninglessness, anal retentiveness, and murderous rage. In clinical studies, nature is proven to decrease work-induced catatonia.
Caution. Nature may cause you to slow down, quit your job, or seriously consider what the you're doing with your life.
If you are overly cynical, jaded, or emotionally numb, you may need to increase your dose of nature. Do you have trouble being even mildly uncomfortable? Nature may not be right for you. Side effects may include spontaneous euphoria, taking yourself less seriously, and being in a good mood for no apparent reason.
So ask your doctor if nature is right for you.
So you guys. Go take a hike. Call me in the morning. So the last little study note, in multiple studies, supplementing mental health treatment with prescriptions of time spent outdoors has helped mitigate or even control their symptoms that we talked about throughout this talk. It's not rocket science, people. Millennials are struggling with mental health issues more than the Gen Xers and probably people my age. There is a program called Parks RX, and that is it's a nonprofit organization that provides a platform for doctors to prescribe parks all around the nation, and we got Montana on the map. And so I'm a provider, and then I think I want to try and get more doctors in this town to prescribe, because we've got a bunch of parks here that we can go use and do that. So if you're interested in that, talk to me after. Otherwise, we have 38 million acres of public lands in the state, so get outside. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
What was the number you said that we don't, like you said, it was like 1.6 hours you spend outside?
Mm-hmm. An average of one.
Average?
Yeah, 90% of time is spent indoors, which we figured out yesterday. I have a lot of accounting friends. We figured it out yesterday. 1.6 hours.
So what would you recommend would be a good amount of time to spend outside every day? Like if that was the goal, is that?
Well, they're saying that they say 20 minutes at minimum. So I would say 30 to 30 minutes a day to just go walk around the neighborhood, go walk around the block. I feel like that has always worked for me to kind of help just settle down, and like my shoulders drop, my whole being just feels like it calms down. When I used to have a dog, I walked in the morning and the afternoon, and when I walked in the morning, it just like helped me clear my brain and get ready for the day. And then when I would come home in the afternoon, I'd walk around the lake, and it was just like this kind of calming of like, okay, I let everything go for the day, and just be and present. So
Phone at home. When I walk my dogs, I try to leave my phone at home.
yeah.
I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to be there.
Yeah, and I usually, when I go hiking, I turn my phone on airplane mode, because I geek out on photography, but I don't want to be disrupted, so.
So, and this is more relative to your occupation. How do people implement that? Like, say insurance or whoever would cover an occupational therapist, physical therapist, how is a recreational therapist brought on board? And how do you agree that it's part of the big picture on bringing someone back to a healing state? But how does that work for you?
Well, that's a good question. If I had an answer, I would answer that for you. State of Montana has shut me down to be reimbursed for Medicaid and or any insurances in the state. When I was in Texas, I was covered under the Medicaid waiver. Here, I'm having extreme amount of difficulty getting covered, so it would be private practice. Okay. And if somebody had a facility or program where they had the OTPT or they wanted the RTs in there as a complimentary service, then that would just have to be a discussion and how that would work out, because I don't know how that it would just either have to be private practice or I'd have to figure out how to get reimbursed elsewhere.
Along those lines, Diana, where do most of your clients come from?
Just word of mouth. People who've had classes. I've been trying to put together like a packet. I talked to a couple doctors who were like, yeah, it's great you're out there. We'll think about it. And so it's just a matter of me pushing and pushing and pushing and then, ATRA, so the American Therapeutic Recreation Association, has been around for 50 some years. Recreation started, or adaptive recreation and recreation therapy started after one of the world wars. One of the guys started it because of the loss of limbs and things like that. And so ATRA has kind of taken hold, and they fight all the time. I mean, I've been certified for 15 years, and I still have seen very little movement in the way of us being recognized. And I think there's some pushback from the OT because we're similar to a lot of those, but we're just like one step different. I think we give people, that reason to get out of bed versus, the tools to get out of bed. It's just one of the tools. It's just where the fun. And so everybody's like, well, you guys are just out there having fun. I'm like, well, you know, I've worked with people who I've seen, you know, with the spinal cord injury, I've seen them come from this place of anger and frustration because now they don't have the use of anything from here down. So, you know, they're pissed at the world. And once they get over that, and then they come to us, you know, where they came to Eagle Mount, and we would work with them, we'd teach them how to ski, or we'd, you know, teach them how to bike again with, you know, an adaptive piece of equipment. And it is amazing, like like I get chills when I talk about that, because the transformation goes from here to here, and it's like, oh, well, if I can do this, then what else can I do, you know? Which is DSC, you know, Disabled Sports USA's mantra is, if I can do this, I can do anything. And so it's once people discover that they can have these positive leisure you know, outlets, that their life changes, and they end up, I see them on, you know, stages talking and giving speeches about, you know, their experiences, because people are interested in it. So they are. I've been Spring, like Dr. Bonville over at Spring has been really great, but I haven't gotten any referrals. And I think it's just a matter of time and awareness, and just knowing what we're doing, being more clear of what I do and what we can provide. So, and I just have to put these materials together. Like, I went to my ATRA conference this fall, plus the Nature is Medicine, and now I feel like I've got a bunch of fuel to add to the fire here. So Montana's pretty behind the times, so it's just a matter of getting everybody up to speed a little bit more. So. I think Medicaid in general in the state is really bad, because people that need the services have a difficult time getting them and enough money for their services too. And we had an instance one time where one girl made $20 over the limit, and she lost all her Medicaid services. So they have to be really careful. So it's almost like like they repress these people from getting out and doing things, and then they lose, like, and they can't afford to lose all their services, you know. When they're in a chair, they have all this crap they need, so, for medical stuff.
That's across the nation.
All right, thank you all for your time.